And you're listening to 99.5 FM WBAI in New York. My name is Kamau Kalfani, and the show is Underneath the Learning Tree, and sometimes known as Under the Learning Tree. Let me say good morning para los amigos con la comida. Hey, I hope you guys are listening. But of course, I look at the clock on the wall, and it tells us that it's time for our commentary from our nation's capital. Let me step back and listen to the one and only Mr. Emmet Abati Doe.
On the real side, where have the people made in America that Dr. King lived and was killed for? Where have they gone? Part 1. On WBAI's Under the Learning Tree. I'm Emmet Abati Doe. On August 11, 1967, just 7 months and 25 days before his barbaric murder, I heard Dr. King as he addressed the National Association of Radio Announcers in Atlanta, Georgia, express his concern for the people made in America and the burden of racism they have been forced to live under. The following, food for thought, in his own words, as the mass media in just 41 short years have transformed our martyred champion into a grotesque tool to make invisible the very people he stood up and was killed for. Atlanta, Georgia, August 11, 1967.
The roots of racism are very deep in America, and they are still here. And that racial injustice is still the black man's burden and the white man's shame. Now, admittedly, we've made some strides, we've made some progress, but this shouldn't cause any of us to become apathetic or lax or complacent. For me, we must recognize that the plant of freedom has grown only a bud and not yet a flower. And the problems that we face are still very serious. Now, we hear a lot of talk these days about the so-called white backlash. I want to tell you what the white backlash really is. It's nothing new. It's merely a new name for an old phenomenon. It is a continued expression of the same vacillation, the same ambivalence that's characterized white society from the very founding of this nation. On the Statue of Liberty, we read that America is the mother of exiles. But it doesn't take us long to realize that America has been the mother of its white exiles from Europe. She has not evinced the same maternal care and concern for her black exiles who were brought to this country in chains from Africa. And it is no wonder that our slave foreparents could think about it, and they could start singing in a beautiful soul song, in a beautiful sorrow song. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. It was this sense of estrangement and rejection that caused our forebears to use such a metaphor. You see, what has happened is that our nation has constantly made a positive step forward on civil rights, but it has usually simultaneously made a step backwards. There has never been a single, solid, determined commitment on the part of the vast majority of white Americans on the question of genuine equality for the black man. In 1863, the Negro was freed from the bondage of physical slavery through the Emancipation Proclamation. But he wasn't given any land to make that freedom meaningful. And you know, it was something like having a man unjustly imprisoned for 30 or 40 years, and suddenly you discover that he's innocent, that he's been unjustly jailed for 30 or 40 years, and then you simply go up to the man and say, now you are free. But you don't give him any bus fare to get to town. You don't give him any money to buy any clothes to put on his back. You don't give him any money to get on his feet so that he can rise up once more as a man. But this is what happened to the black man in America. And we must remember this, that at the very same time when America refused to give the black man anything, just said you're free, he was left penniless, illiterate, standing out in a situation not knowing what to do and where to go. But we must not forget that at the same time the Negro was being treated like this. America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. It says that our country was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor, but it refused to undergird its black peasants who were brought here in chains from Africa with an economic floor. And so emancipation for the Negro was freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without a roof over their heads, freedom without bread to eat, freedom without land to cultivate. It was freedom and famine at the same time. And it is a miracle that the Negro has survived. But the white backlash didn't stop there. In 1875, the nation passed the Civil Rights Bill and refused to enforce it. The fact is that America has been backlashing on the question of genuine equality for the black man for more than 300 years. And this is something that we must realize and that we must see.
Next week, part 2 of Where Have the People Made in America that Dr. King lived and was killed for? Where have they gone? Visit myspace.com/Really Quitting America. We're on the real side, under the learning tree, the 20th of March, 2008. I'm Emmet Abati Doe.